From the start of her campaign, Democrats thought Allison Lundergan Grimes was a strong bet to beat the top Republican in the Senate, Mitch McConnell. Then this.
Did you vote for President Obama?
You know, this election it isn't about the president.
Did you vote for him?
I respect the sanctity of the ballot box.
So you're not going to answer?
Again, I don't think that the president is on the ballot.
It's all entertainment. It wasn't that long ago we were told with absolute certainty that the midterm elections would be all about the economy and jobs, stupid. Now we're hearing that may not be the case, and it could be all about Ebola, or maybe ISIS, or maybe gas prices. Worst case scenario, it's all about finding Bigfoot. At the very least, we're narrowing it down. Welcome to MidPoint, senior political reporter for Sunshine State News, and one who will need therapy to get his life back once the midterms are over, much like many of us covering politics these days. Kevin Darby joins us. Kevin, good to see you again.
Always a pleasure, Ed. Good to see you.
Trust me, don't worry about it. They're going to get to Bigfoot any day now. It's got to happen in the midterms. You and I both know that. Let's go ahead and start out in Kentucky right now, because the Democrats thought that Allison Lundergan Grimes was actually going to be a pretty good opponent for Mitch McConnell, but certainly some of her comments made recently when she was asked about whether or not she really did vote for the president didn't help her any. Was that really a delineator there? Did that make a tremendous amount of difference, or was she already losing ground?
Well, I think she was losing ground, but this accelerated her defeat. Allison Grimes, pretty top-notch candidate on paper. She was Secretary of State for Kentucky. She's won elections there before. She should have been able to compete with McConnell. Having said that, her refusal to say whether or not she would vote for President Obama twice, her repeated insistence on that during the debates cost her tremendously.
Now, she's split with the president on guns, coal, and the Environmental Protection Agency. Why isn't that enough to at least get her over a little bit of that mid-hump, if you will, and get to McConnell?
Well, Kentucky's trending red. We've seen that in recent elections, both at the state and the federal levels. That's a problem for her. But the D next to her name is really the deal killer. It really is hurting her badly in that state. She can go right on and go to the center on a number of issues. It's not enough to save her. McConnell is a very tough campaigner, a strong fundraiser, much more popular in Kentucky than he is in the Beltway, a very shrewd politician, and he's going to be able to keep the Senate seat in the Republican column.
All right, now let's go ahead and move to Iowa. Joni Ernst, the Republican, Bruce Braley, the Democrat. Very tight race that's going on here right now. It certainly has tightened up in the last couple of weeks. Is it, and again, it would seem that the Democrats are going after Ernst's anti-abortion views, and they're focusing on that right now as their way to get to her. Is that going to be enough, in your opinion?
I don't think so. I think this is one the Republicans pick up. It's currently held by Tom Harkin. Joni Ernst is a very solid candidate. The Democrats are bringing out all the stops. They brought out Hillary Clinton last month. Elizabeth Warren, the senator from Massachusetts and a possible presidential candidate, was there this weekend. They're trying to hurt Ernst on social issues. That's not enough. I think she's going to be able to beat Bruce Braley come November. I think this is going to be a tight election, but I think Ernst wins by about 4 points.
All right, let's go ahead and move on then to Louisiana. Now, Louisiana might be the most entertaining race of all, I guess. Well, it depends, of course, if you know anything about politics and you look at the way things usually happen in Louisiana. Anything that happens there is always a tremendous amount of fun. Mary Landrieu is a 3-term Democratic senator in here. She wins these kind of races usually, but why is it that this time it would seem that Bill Cassidy has a great chance to unseat her?
Well, Louisiana has been trending red in recent elections. It's a growing conservative state. Republicans are continuing to do well there. Democrats never really quite recovered from the Katrina and some of the exodus there, which happened in and around New Orleans. Landrieu is a very solid campaigner. Bill Cassidy is a top-notch Republican candidate. This one could be going on for a few more weeks, though. Remember, Louisiana, you need 50% to win. You have Rob Maness, a conservative. He has the backing of Sarah Palin. He's going to be able to keep Cassidy down a little bit. That might be able to prevent either Landrieu or Cassidy from getting 50%. If that's the case, it means they settle this in early December in the runoff.
As I talked about in the lead-in, we're always told it's about the economy. It's about money, stupid. But the Republicans in this race are tying Landrieu to Obamacare. So it still is a very powerful thing when you mention the word Obamacare, is it not? It's something that you can't just discount out of hand.
No, it isn't. Obamacare remains extremely unpopular. There's no other issue that fires up the Republican base as much as Obamacare. And a lot of these elections are coming down to getting your party voters, getting your base to turn out in November. That's important. And nothing feeds the Republican turnout machine like Obamacare and their opposition to it.
All right, now in New Hampshire, rather, this would seem to be, and there's some people I think trying to make this a little bit more of a race than it really is. But Jeanine Shaheen, the former governor of the state, one term in Washington, isn't it fair to say that as you look at it, she's relatively safe right now?
There are some polls showing Scott Brown, the former senator from Massachusetts, closing in on her, but I think Sheehan has the advantage here. The problem Scott Brown runs into is he's well known in the southern part of the state with the Massachusetts markets, especially Boston and Lowell, right across the border. But in the conservative northern neck, the place which has supported Republicans through in and throughout over the years, the place which helped Mel Thompson and Bob Smith get elected, that's where Scott Brown isn't known. He's not as conservative as those New Hampshire Republicans. That's going to cost him. I think Sheehan's going to be able to hold on here in New Hampshire.
Now, apparently what Brown is doing here, they're pointing out that Shaheen has voted with the president 99% of the time. That still is the powerful line, regardless. We've looked at 4 races right here. We have so many others. But that's the focus right now that Republicans are still going to hit on. And do you think that they still have a winning edge in pushing that forward, that it is the president's policies on the ballot?
Yeah, absolutely. Obama himself fed into that earlier this year by saying, while he's not on the ballot, his policies are. And even in states which have supported Obama in the last 2 presidential elections, like New Hampshire, like my home state of Florida, he's upside down there. The Republicans are using it to their advantage. They're talking about Obama is his backing policies. They're linking every Democrat they have to the issue, to that White House. They are turning every Democrat into Obama, and it's going to pay off for him in November.
Kevin, got a little bit less than a minute here because we're having some candidates now who are using Ebola in some of their speeches right here and the panic that's going on in America. Is this a winning way to go after the voters?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, Ebola is a major concern. There are issues being raised about how the CDC handled issues. You can talk about the travel ban on 3 West African countries. A lot of the Republicans are even calling for Speaker Boehner to bring them back to Washington to have a vote on this. This is a winning issue for them, and I think they're going to be using it well to their advantage. There are some Democrats, Alan Grayson, Bill Nelson, who have broken with the president on this issue, and they're trying to keep their political fortunes alive with it.
But be careful.
It's a major issue against the White House.
Be careful, though, to tamp down on the panic. Don't feed into the panic.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's going to be the big part, whether or not anybody can actually do that, because a lot of them are getting onto that point still. Kevin Darby, always a pleasure, my friend. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you again soon.
Pleasure.
All right, later on this hour, time to admit the president got something absolutely dead on right in comparison to a certain cable news babbler who would rather wish somebody contract a potentially fatal disease. And after the break, let's gather at the medicinal